Hello and welcome to Casual Shenanigans, episode 16. A podcast. You can't interrupt me. You can't interrupt me when I'm starting the podcast. That's just bad.
All right.
All right.
Was that a get back in the kitchen move?
Okay. Welcome to Casual Shenanigans, episode 16, a podcast all about Battlefield, DayZ, and all things PC gaming related. I'm one of your hosts, Jeremiah, also known as JERMgaming, and I am joined by my co-hosts, Chris.
Hello.
Dave.
Hey guys, I'm Dave, the not so evil Viking 13.
Joel.
Hey guys.
And Steve.
Hi.
All right. So we did not have a podcast last week. Last week was E3, but the week before that, we did a podcast all about E3 predictions. So we've got some other stuff to talk about tonight, like the DayZ standalone and things like that. But I think before we go any farther, let's go through all our DayZ predictions and see who won or see who did well.
DayZ predictions?
Sorry, E3 predictions, whatever.
I was like, man, you guys have a podcast without me? You guys suck. I love DayZ podcast.
We had a podcast all about DayZ. Rocket was on. It was great.
That would have been funny. Here we go. Let's see. So Chris.
Yes. I know I got two wrong.
Yeah, I know. You said that they would say this twice during during one of the, E3 events, and that the console was going to be more powerful than PC. And I don't remember them saying that at all.
Yeah, I don't think anyone said that.
So we'll say that's a lose one.
I'm surprised because I've heard it several times leading up to the conference, so I thought for sure. But,
It is surprising.
Yay, everyone's not as stupid as I thought.
2, I will want a PS4 by the end.
That's true, but that prediction hinged on a new game from Naughty Dog, and they didn't actually announce anything. So
you won
failed there too.
Well, failed, but if you actually still want it,
I do, but the prediction hinged on a new game announcement
you want it,
from
so
Naughty
that's a lose for you. So.
I say we give. No, we're not
Are
going to
you
do that half
really
point
arguing
nonsense.
against your own point?
You're arguing against
Well,
a question
I'm
that
just
you
being
set up
honest
just so
to
you
my
could win.
prediction.
I was expecting more
If
for
you guys
voting,
want to give me
actually.
the point, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, you get the point on that one because you want a PS4.
Yeah, let's give him a point.
All right. And the last one was Xbox won't have an exclusive. That will be a selling point. That's your question. I mean, I don't.
It's not enough to make me buy it, but some of those games did look interesting.
I mean, I think Halo 5 and Forza 5 are system sellers.
Yeah, I was gonna grow. I agree with you. Literally, Halo 5. I think I'm not gonna get a system at all when it comes out, but I will get it when Halo 5 comes out.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally the reason. Oh man, I wish almost Halo 5 was on PS4 now. But that's because I love that game.
Right.
That probably won't happen though.
Just bring into
I don't know much
PC
about
like you
consoles,
used
but I
to.
wouldn't bet on that.
All right. What were Dave's predictions?
Dave, you said no announcement of DayZ standalone. That's a win.
Correct.
Oh. Wait a second. Wait.
I was gonna say,
was
but
there
I'm like,
because you think it's coming out next week?
But there wasn't an actual announcement.
Right.
though.
I guess
all Rocket
announcement,
said was very imminent. There was no date set.
Which
that was my
it was
argument.
imminent in December. Just throwing that out there.
It wasn't
Okay.
very imminent. That word very is very exciting, I guess.
And Dave won with the Battlefield 4. It said naval combat subs, cruisers, real water physics. We didn't see any of the naval combat subs.
However,
cruisers.
in the current alpha,
we did not see it.
People have gone. I said it would be in Battlefield 4.
I think he gets a point for this one. Yeah, I think he's
people
close
have
enough.
Point. Just kidding.
People have actually
Anyway.
pulled the files, Joel, out of the current closed alpha and found stuff about like the bigger naval stuff. So it's in there somewhere, just not. We haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
To be honest, I was actually quite surprised I was right about the water thing. It was one of those things where I saw it in the single player. I'm like, please let it be true for multiplayer. But I wasn't 100% sure that I'd be right on that one. I was actually quite surprised and happy about that.
The last one was nothing that will make Dave buy a console.
That was kind of easy, I guess.
So Dave gets 3 points.
I think he's more swaying though. I think he's more swaying.
It's true. I will say that I was more swayed than I expected, but I'm still not lining up to pre-order a PS4.
Okay. Well, 3 points.
Has anybody
for Dave.
pre-ordered for the record?
I have.
Joel has. Okay.
I was strongly
What?
considering it, but that was just so I could flip it on eBay for profit. Because
And by flip it for profit, you mean tear it open and play a new game?
no, I don't. But I kind of missed my window there. So, all the launch ones are pretty much spoken for as far as I can tell. So, oh well. But also, I can't buy any new games for now, Joel. So, there's that. So I think
that's right.
James is next. So what were James's?
James said that there was going to be a Metal Gear Solid 5 launch release.
Did they say when it's coming out?
I don't remember them saying that. They did show it off.
We should
and
Google
I doubt
that.
it's launch. I doubt it.
Let me see.
I don't.
What was his wording? Was it launch release or announced?
Launch
he said-
window, I think.
Yeah, it was launch window. So that's I think it's the first 5 or 6 months.
I'm Googling right now. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, I don't want to watch a video. I want someone to tell me an answer. A release date has yet to be announced. Okay, so release date hasn't been announced, so let's assume it's not launch window.
Fail or lose. He said there's gonna be a revived Super NES or 64 type pre-2000 game, and it was Killer Instinct.
All right.
Wow, nice.
So that is
Man.
for him. Price drops of current gen, $50 off both consoles. I don't remember.
No, there weren't.
Nope.
Wasn't okay.
Nope, they came out with a new Xbox 360 Slim that's pretty much as slim as the old Xbox 360 Slim. It just looks plainer to match the Xbox One. So that kind of seems like a worthless update to me, but...
Yeah.
Okay, so was I next?
No, I was next actually.
You were
Well,
next,
it's on my
okay.
List. Sadly, no Half-Life 3. Shut up, Dave.
Man, that
Joel,
point
you're
was a
so
game.
angry. You're so angry.
Lose with 8 E's. Okay. Consoles cost no more than $400. Half right.
All right, yeah, we'll give you a half point.
Half point. That was pretty impressive that PS4 did.
It was. We'll get to that. We'll get to that after this.
Neither system talked about 3D, or that they wouldn't talk about 3D, and I was correct.
Hallelujah.
I know, so glad. And then Joy's was no Fallout announcement. Screw you, Joy. And I was supposed to send her the feed to this, so I'm glad I didn't send it to her yet. I'll send it after. She said at least 5 Kinect demonstrations.
There were only 2, I think.
I know, there was only 2, so that's a lose.
Win for everybody but Joy.
There were no Lego games shown, and that's a win for her.
wow.
So there's no shown. Now here comes Jeremiah. Predict standalone date is released.
Nope.
Ha!
PS4
Aw.
most DRM stuff, but won't be talked about. Ooh, you lose.
Wait, I didn't say the most DRM stuff. I said it would have DRM stuff. They just wouldn't talk about it.
But I don't think they have any.
No, I don't think they do. I just wanted to clarify my stance. Although,
That was a politician answer right there.
if I could get maybe I can earn like a 1/10 of a point because they did the whole you have to have PlayStation Plus to play online thing that they did announce that during the conference. That kind of leaked out and they very quietly confirmed it. So can I have 1/10 of a point?
You sure can.
All right, thank you. What was my last one?
SKU with Vita and PS4.
They did not do that. So what did I get? I got 1/10 of a point. All right.
1/10.
Well, you can't win them all.
Or even a whole point.
So Dave's the clear leader with 3 of 3.
All right, let's see if Steve's industry-backed predictions came true.
Xbox will be out November at $400. Lose. I don't know if it'll be out November. They haven't set a release date, so I still think it will, but
We don't know.
Yeah, we don't know, so lose.
And definitely not $400. Well, not definitely, I guess, the way things have been going the last day or so, but probably not.
Please
Xbox,
take it.
Xbox will show off the Capture app. I think they had the Twitch TV thing, so that's a win. And PS3 released in October for $500.
PS4.
Sorry, PS4. Yeah.
So many numbers this year.
I wrote down PS3. I got so used. That's a fail.
So I guess Dave is the clear winner here.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yay!
Yeah, he won all three. Nice.
The sad little king of a sad little hill.
So Dave, given that you're so knowledgeable about E3, what surprised you the most?
Wow, that I actually watched most of the stream.
Okay, there you go.
I didn't watch Ubisoft's and Sony's, and I actually regretted it a little bit later because I missed the announcement of the Division and the jabs that Sony made at Microsoft. Like,
yeah, let's just park there for a minute. The Sony press conference, even if you didn't care about PlayStation or consoles, that is a lesson in how marketing is done right. Like, they obviously watched the entire Microsoft conference going, hey, quick, make a PowerPoint about that. Make a PowerPoint. Let's mention this. And they teased you the whole conference. They just were showing game after game after game after game, but they weren't really blowing everybody away. They were just building like a really solid, like, here's an exclusive, here's a cool game that you already knew about, but here's gameplay footage. Like, build. And it's starting to get towards the end of the conference and people are getting antsy. And then I've never seen this at any press conference. They pretty much walked out on stage and said, okay, here's what the other guys are doing that we're going to do differently. And then they just beat Microsoft in the head for like 5 minutes. And people, like, they always politely clap.
And then undercut them.
Yeah, they always politely clap, but they were really clapping. Like, people were really excited and standing up and cheering and stuff. And then, when they announced the price, it was beautiful. Like, just the screams and adulation, and you could tell Sony, like, if you read between the lines, Sony was pretty clearly saying, hey guys, we know we screwed up the PS3 launch really badly. Please don't hate us this time around. They were hungry. Sony was hungry and Microsoft wasn't. Microsoft walked out on stage like Sony did when they announced the PS3 and were like, hey, we won last time, you guys are gonna buy this one no matter what.
Yeah,
but
just to pipe in for James, something he said, which I believe is probably true. He thinks that Sony probably had similar DRM that they were going to do, and after seeing Xbox, I think they had a meeting and said, "F this, we'll figure out how to make money later, or like how to do our stuff later. Let's just win this and get a good start." And I'd say that's true because there was an article I read just a week afterwards. It was one of the Borderlands 2 developers. And he was in a meeting when they were getting ready to show all the specs for the PS4, like a couple months beforehand. And they were saying, oh yeah, we're going to have 4 gigs of RAM, and it was going to be the really fast RAM.
Right.
So it might have been better than what Xbox had, even though they had 8, but whatever, that was the idea. But the guy said, no, you're going to lose. You'll lose terribly, and it's all over for you. You got to put an 8, and then, you'll make it. And apparently a lot of the big upper people there, like, literally broke down because they were... I mean, Sony's been doing quite bad lately with most of the rest of their technologies.
Yeah,
with everything. So I think they literally
VCRs just aren't selling anymore.
And so supposedly they just broke down. And they're like, okay, like this is our last chance. Let's just go all out. And so that it was awesome to be able to see that people still listen nowadays, and we're not all going to the connected matrix. Even though I think some parts would be pretty cool if that will ever happen. But man, it's just like I just still want to just play my dang games.
Well, and that's kind of the difference this time is Sony last time, the PS3 was $600 when it came out, which is a lot of money. But Blu-ray players were going for $1,000. So the PS3 was the cheapest Blu-ray player, and it played games. But the issue was a lot of people didn't care about getting a Blu-ray player. So they were trying to force a new technology, and it didn't really work for them. And this time around, they're staying pretty safe. Like they're coming out with really great specs, really great games, but they're not trying anything crazy, and that's probably good because they need to capture mindshare. And so, update, as of today, it was confirmed that the Xbox actually, after that press conference disaster, I mean, their press conference wasn't bad. Like they actually did a pretty good job. It was just that Sony whooped them afterwards, and they reversed a lot of the DRM. That they were going to have. So you will no longer have to check in on an internet connection every 24 hours. You'll be able to buy and sell games, stuff like that, which actually does get rid of some of the cool features of the Xbox One, like the ability to sign into your profile on a friend's Xbox and play your games and stuff like that. You're not going to be able to do all that anymore. But why I think this is significant is every time something comes out in gaming that a group of people don't like, obviously they complain about it. I mean, I complained very vocally when SimCity came out, and I've complained about plenty of other things in the past, and I'm probably not going to stop anytime soon. But the difference between when a lot of things like SimCity has come out, or the latest Call of Duty that doesn't innovate anything comes out, or Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 got rid of dedicated servers and people complain, like all of the big things that people complain about, the difference this time was people actually voted with their wallets and were so upset about the Xbox One, they weren't pre-ordering it. The PS4 was getting pre-ordered on a scale of like 5 to 1 on Amazon. And so, I mean, that's the only thing that matters is, I mean, you can complain on the internet all you want, but if you give Microsoft money, and Sony money, for that, for the record, if you give them money, they don't care what you say. If you're paying, as long as you're giving them money, it does not matter. So people were actually mad enough this time that they really did vote with their wallets, and Microsoft isn't stupid. They were pretty brazen this time around, and maybe not that wise, but they're not stupid when it comes to business stuff. They pretty quickly, I think, saw that this was going to be a mistake. I'm guessing during the Sony press conference, there were some really frantic phone calls being made. Because think about it, it was just over 1 week since the press conference, and they announced the reversal of all this stuff that's probably been in the works for like 6 months or a year. These systems that have been designed.
Longer than that.
Probably, yeah. So, and Microsoft, they've got a track record of doing stuff like this. Like when people complained about the Windows 8 not having a start button, even though it does have a start menu and it's not that big a deal. But people complained about it so much, they're giving people a start button back.
I complain because it's retarded.
I want the start button back too.
Okay, well, all right.
Just because you can get used to crap doesn't mean crap's
It's for those
good.
who are weak, who don't understand the power of keyboard shortcuts.
That's right. That's right.
I'm just sitting over
Right.
here
You
with
don't need
Windows 7.
buttons for anything.
So, this is the difference is like between this and SimCity was people were very, very angry about SimCity. And I'm not saying this to poke fun at Dave or Yako or anyone else in our group who bought it, because you guys knew about all the problems with it, but you were okay with the problems.
I also paid $30 for it.
Well, that helps. But you understood going in that this, that it wasn't going to be perfect, and you were okay with that. But there were a lot of people, and you weren't that angry. Like, you were frustrated, but there were, like, if I had been as angry as I was and I still paid for it, that I would be the stereotypical consumer that's the reason that terrible policies get enacted and crummy consoles come out and stuff like that happens. But enough people were upset this time that they didn't pre-order it, and Microsoft actually changed what they're doing. And I think that's really impressive. It's impressive on Microsoft's part that they didn't just try to ride that ship into the ground. And I think it's impressive on Sony's part for being that daring, because it's been a long time since Sony was daring. So it was impressive all the way around. Like, again, even if you didn't care about consoles, just from a marketing point of view, that Sony's press conference was masterful.
I did watch the highlights later, and the grin on those guys' faces.
Oh, Jack Trenton,
as they just
there,
nailed
you could tell.
punch after punch. He's just like, this is the best moment of my life.
Yeah, you could tell he knew. He was like, I feel that bonus. I feel that bonus coming in.
It's
You better
like
warm
the
up
first
those
time, like, a
Chinese kids in
politician-
that factory. Their fingers are going to get worn to the bone.
It's like his first taste of power. Like, the crowd is cheering him, and he's like, I can do anything.
They like me.
He takes off like Superman. Yeah, it's funny. I was totally assuming that Xbox was going to do that just because they would have been in a really horrible place. But I am kind of sad. I kind of almost wish they stuck with it just so I could see how it works. Because to be honest, most of the stuff they had does not affect me whatsoever.
Right.
At least me personally. I mean, I have an Xbox. I have a Kinect. It's always connected. Always. I don't think the last time I played a game with no internet ever for years. At least once time a day.
Right.
And I really did like the idea of, if you do have it always on, just for the sake of convenience, for certain games, like especially if everyone has a Kinect, the developers know everybody has it and it can be used. So they right now, for games, it would be so much better developed and it would actually be used really cool, I'm sure.
Possibly.
Well, they'd have a better chance because it's not. They're not developing for 1 million of them.
You say that, but
Sony every single console.
bundled a 6-axis controller with every PS3, and then like 3 games used it, and then nobody cared. So it's very possible that people still won't care about Kinect, and it'll just be used as an interface device.
You still don't have to use it. There hasn't been a game that you've had to use it so far.
Well, except like Kinect Sports.
Well, that's a Kinect game.
Well, you said there weren't any, and I'm just saying there were some.
Well, I will smack you.
No, you won't.
I mean, like actual games. Like there's no game that forces you unless
Actual
you're actually
games,
getting
that's
a
a
Connect
good-
game.
Actual game.
I got a Connect game.
Jeremiah, you just made some poor developer cry.
I'm sorry, poor
Hey,
developer
did you
who's
ever
watching
play
this.
Connect Sports? That
Yeah.
was actually a blast.
No, it wasn't. Only if
It
you
was
like
fun.
poorly made games that are made for children.
Do you have friends come over to your house?
No,
Oh.
not usually.
Oh, that's probably why. It's fun when you have
Ouch.
friends.
It's getting
Wow.
personal tonight.
I've played it with other people though at other people's houses, and I still thought it was stupid.
The ping
For the
pong was
record.
fun, and well, I played it with
I
James.
can play
and his
real
kid.
ping pong,
I know, right?
where you can actually hit the ball and aren't just going.
I was the best time ever was I was playing ping pong with James, and his son wanted to play too, and on screen you see a little avatar kind of walking around, and sometimes it would be kind of laggy. And the funniest thing we would do is in between playing, we would just start dancing around and see what the avatar would follow us. And so the character would just be like freaking out and stuff. And you could win the match by just making someone laugh. You're like,
Now,
"Whoa."
how much did this piece of technology cost to dance wildly at the camera and make the avatars dance?
For the
I think
amusement of other
it was-
people.
They're like
It was $50.
$120, I thought.
I don't think it was that much, no. Maybe 75.
Let's Google
That's when I got it. It was fun.
Now, you are still going to have a Kinect. That's still coming with it. It's $107. Yeah, about $107. You're still going to have a Kinect to, you're going to have it plugged into your Xbox One at all times. They're not getting rid of that, but, they've reversed a lot of things, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. So moving on from consoles, back to, the focus of this podcast being the PC. Dave, why don't you bring us up to speed on what's new with the DayZ standalone?
Yeah, there was a bunch of videos that came out, lots of interviews and stuff at E3. And I was telling Joel, I actually am really glad that Rocket just took this really rough development build to E3. As awkward as it must have been to march in there with the likes of, The Division and all these new generation AAA games, to show up with a dev build of an indie game with a team of 6 that's developed on an engine that's like as old as Methuselah, and to show that off on the floor, like that must have been kind of awkward. But I was telling Joel, I was a little disappointed at first seeing some of the footage, especially seeing how glitchy the zombies still were, until I kind of stepped back and thought about it. Like, they're not at the point where they're focusing on polishing zombies yet. That hasn't been the focus. The focus has been
I
the
just hope
server
they get there.
architecture. Yeah, please, yes. But it was nice to kind of get like a reality check, because there's been so much hype almost because of the lack of information over the last 6 months. Like, we were just getting drip fed a quick video, a quick screenshot, just a little snippet of information, and also all of these grand ideas that they have planned out for the next year and a half of development. It's easy to get focused on all of that and forget that the very imminent. Yeah, it's not even a game yet. It's a development build.
Right, and I like the video you put up today, Dave, where you're talking about what we could expect from the DayZ standalone, because you made a very good point, and that was that this wasn't even a game like 8 months ago. It was just a mod, and most games are in production for a couple years. So they've obviously been rushing through stuff just to get something playable. So I'm sure they're doing a really good job. It's aggravating for all the people who want to play it yesterday.
And I was explaining to one commenter on that video. I said, development time has been about 6 months, and he's like, well, they released or announced the game in August. That's more than 6 months of development time. But what you have to keep in mind is, last fall they were basically prettying the mod up to release it as its own package, and they were just really unhappy with it. And when December rolled around and they were like a month away from that initial estimated release date, Rocket basically said, this is not going to be enough. Like, we can't repackage the mod with all the hacking and the glitching and all the bugs and then make people pay for it. Wait, if we're going to do it, we have to do it right. And in December, they scrapped everything and started over with the foundation. And that's the good thing that happened. But that's why we're sitting here in June with no alpha out yet. It's a good thing and a bad thing. Mainly a good thing, though.
Good thing and a
I think
bad
it's a
thing,
good
but
thing,
it's
and I
good.
would be willing to wait longer, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
I'm actually not that... I'm excited to play it because it'll be playing it with you guys again and it'll be fun. But I'd almost rather just, sit it out for even a year let them polish it, let them add in vehicles, let them do what they want to do, and come back to it.
Well, all right. So here's my next question. I was going to ask this to Dave, but I think it'll be a good question for everybody. Let's say they release the dev build, slightly more polished than when we saw it, but pretty much that build. If they release that, are we going to be playing it like a lot? Are we going to play it a lot? Are we going to make Survivor Diaries? Are we going to try to make a go of it? Or are we just going to kind of mess around and wait for more stuff?
I'll dive in first, if you don't mind. I think that initial alpha release, I think obviously I'm going to be buying it, but I'm going to be testing it first, probably for a few days, figuring out what's in there, what kind of weapons there are, what kind of areas there are, figuring out how the game works, and within a few days I'll probably decide if it's stable enough and fully featured enough to actually make an interesting series out of. But I don't know, what do you guys think about that?
I think you're gonna play it like crazy, Dave. I don't care what you say, you're gonna play so much of it, no matter what it is.
I do have a personal day set aside.
I've got one I can use, I'm just waiting.
What I'm really curious to see is how it's going to compare to the initial DayZ experience that it was for me. What it's going to do differently, how it's just going to look and feel. Because I imagine that everything they've done now, there's some polished stuff, there's some stuff to make it prettier, there's stuff to make loot finding better. But I'm curious how it changes that initial experience. And
it's going to have to
change
it.
The initial DayZ experience. It's going to have to change it. It's going to kind of have to go back to it a little bit.
Yeah.
And in that sense, I don't completely mind not having vehicles, because in the initial DayZ experience, we didn't really.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
It's going to be a much more stripped back, hopefully much more focused on survival. And I think that could be really fun, but I don't know that that's going to have the long-term appeal that the mod has had for some of us.
Well, and the mod, for me, is really starting to taper off as far as my enjoyment of it. Like, when the Breaking Bad series ended and we went back to normal servers, I don't know, it's not really doing anything for me anymore. And if the dev build, if the standalone alpha release comes out and it's really the same thing, I'm not going to be that excited. But if it's the same thing, but all of a sudden the zombies are like super scary and will kill you in 5 seconds and it's really hard to get away from them, the whole game changes.
Yep.
I mean,
as long as they're not
even
glitchy,
create different interactions with players too. Like, if the world is a much harsher place, it may not be left to PvP action to let people get their interest up.
Right.
And hopefully it'll be creating some new experiences for those initial players.
Yeah.
I think the success in the game is not really the hardcore elements by making it so dang hard. I think it's by actually just having lots of options for things. Mm-hmm. And the biggest part of DayZ is really the zombies. If they don't get that right, I'm just not going to play it that much. Like, really, if they just had good zombies right now, I'd play it. I'd play it more. Like, I'd deal with the rest of the crap.
Right.
Right now, it's just boring to me because, like, I don't really want to waste 2.5 hours. Like, sometimes Dave can loot for hours. I don't want to waste that time, but I know I could be spending 45 minutes in some other game that's a lot better, and I'm having fun the whole 45 minutes and not just the last 10 minutes of the 2 hours.
And that's how I feel now that we're starting to play Arma more, is like, I could be in the same engine, but actually doing stuff.
Yeah.
With good gear, and I don't have to worry about losing it.
Exactly.
And I told Dave, I think if they do the spawn points, which I called a long time ago, which I hope they were going to do, is that you spawn in random places all over the map.
Yes.
So you have no idea where people are. It's going to feel a lot more dangerous, and you're going to feel like, hey, I might actually run into someone somewhere. Where it's not like, because since you don't run into people all the time, like constantly, for me, I'd rather just run and risk it than crouch and crawl everywhere. It's like, it just takes 4 more hours.
Your odds of actually just running into somebody in the wilderness are pretty low.
It's funny, Joel, I initially was against that idea because I was like, what happens when people figure out like where the spawn points are? Like, everyone's just going to be camping outside of the cabins where people spawn, and I'm like, wait, people are already camping Trino and Electro. It can't get any worse than it already is.
Yeah, just spread them out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, it's going to be harder to do that now because, it's all over. So they're gonna spawn, and it's probably not going to be the exact same position,
a safe place, but
right.
So
I still think it'd be cool to like try to live in one of the cities. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Oh, that would be pretty sick. Or one of the villages, like in the mountains, like a small village, fortify it, and
There goes Dave, out in the mountains, safe in the bushes, underground, where we'll only loot, we'll never go out.
I was actually showing Yakko some footage from E3 where Dean was showing off the new massive oil tanker that's like beached up near Berezino, kind of like in the woods north of it, off the shore. And it's an amazing model. It reminds me of Stalker, not necessarily for the photorealistic crisis-like detail of it, but just for how big it is. Like almost every floor is modeled, and Yakko was just like, "We're making camp on that ship. Like we're gonna fortify it. It's gonna be awesome."
I want to make camp near weapons. Just saying.
On the note of player interaction, have you guys heard the changes to blood bags and transfusions?
I have not, but that's why we have you. If you haven't told me, I haven't heard it.
Yeah, I just totally forgot. This is going to be a huge change to how blood works, because right now, if you're playing with a group of people, you just carry some blood bags, and no matter how many zombies you aggro, Jeremiah, you can just keep getting blood bags.
I have a gift.
However,
and I still remember the first week when you jumped in with all the rest of us.
Oh my god!
And it was like kiting the man.
You and Joel both. Like I would have to look for you guys. I just look for the chain of zombies going down the coast. Like, oh, there they are.
I did that because it was just not worth your time sneaking for 5 hours when you could just run.
I used to sneak, Joel. I used to crawl through every town.
I know.
Dave doesn't make it worth it for everyone else.
Do that. I know. You'll do it all for everyone else. So
getting back on track about the blood bags, they've actually removed blood bags from standalone, and the way that you get your blood back now is you actually have to perform a transfusion with someone else, and there's no concrete details yet, but apparently it's already functioning, and Rocket said that it can either be a voluntary transfusion or against your will.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Blood bandits. That's all I'm going to say is blood bandits.
We kidnap somebody, throw them in the trunk, and we just open them up every once in a while, cut an artery, get your little fill up. Their body grows more.
They need like handcuffs then or something.
Yeah, I figured there must be some way that we haven't heard about yet.
Break their arms, break their legs.
Gotta be able to restrain or control people.
Break their arms, break their legs.
And I told Joel this other little tidbit.
You get like tranquilizers.
That'd be amazing.
You don't want to put tranquilizers in their blood and then get a transfusion. That's not a solid plan.
Well, then you can
tie him up or
you
something.
can do that, and then you die.
Ludo 2x4.
I'm gonna warn you guys.
Maybe just like a ton of Novocaine to their legs or something. I don't know.
Talking about the server client architecture, this I was actually so excited to hear about. It was just like a little aside in an interview, but I kind of stepped back and thought about it, and I'm like, if this actually works, it changes the game. You guys were just talking about how zombies have to be fun to fight, they have to be the main threat, and that is what will finally change the game. Well, because of the way that the server client architecture works, the server now controls zombie spawns globally. Now, in the mod, as your client, you the player moved around the server, when you got near a town, the server would populate zombies, and it would usually like spawn them right in front of you for like a millisecond, and then populate them around town, which always freaked me out. The problem with that is you could tell when a player was near because the town would be populated with zombies before you got there. And also, as you killed zombies, which is just like on a timer, every, I think it's like 5 or 6 minutes, even though you've killed zombies, they come back. Well, there's also a limit globally for the total zombies per server because of that really just scripty spawning system. I think the most I ever saw was like 900 on an entire server. In standalone, because the server controls the spawns, the zombies will already be there. And they've tested, I think, up to 2,500 zombies so far, which is 2.5 times what we saw in the mod. And here's what excited me. Because the server knows how to populate dynamically, you can clear towns now. You go in, the zombies are already there, you kill all the zombies, and the server will not repopulate the town until the area has been empty for, I think they said, like 10 minutes or so. And that's a game changer, being able to actually clear towns.
Yeah.
Like, is it worth your ammo
How
to make a
long
loot
will
run?
it stay that way? I mean, could you exterminate? Well, I guess it's going to spawn zombies wherever players aren't.
Probably once you leave the game, you know, and then after 10 minutes it'll go.
Although I'm assuming, like, if there's
But like, it has to have a refresh period at some point.
Actually, Chris, someone asked Rocket the exact same question. I love the answer almost as much as the original question. It will not spawn zombies until the area has been completely empty. I guess they have areas set up for the buildings, but until it's been empty for 10 minutes. However, there is a chance if you stay in an area too long, because zombies are controlled globally, they wander around the map some too. So if you stick in a town too long, you've cleared it, sure, but you might have some wanderers show up that will bring then more zombies and more players and more attention from other towns. It's so awesome sounding.
So it sounds like you can set up a town like Woodbury?
Woodbury, yeah.
Yeah, you set up a Woodbury.
It'd be amazing. I'm excited. That just sounds like an absolute game changer. If they get, I guess that's already functioning. If they then get the zombies to have good animations and to be fun to fight, that'll completely change the game. Just those two things right there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm just surprised that they spent so much time making so many more guns when they really need to just be working on their main gameplay part, which is the zombies.
Well, I'm sure they've got people. I mean, they've got people working on both. It might not be fair to say they just ought to spend all their time on this thing or that thing. I mean, they probably have a team that's doing nothing but that, and they need to work on something else in the meantime.
Yeah, maybe so.
I'm guessing.
As far as guns go, Joel, they had to actually redo all the guns because the guns in DayZ are not like the guns in Arma. They are made up of multiple like entities that, you know, the magazine, the accessories, and all are all attachments, and that's all new for DayZ. So it all had to be redone anyway to get that system to work.
Yeah, I just figure like if I was them, I would, you know, make 2 weapons, and then after you get zombies actually working, which is the actual fun part of the game, then you can always just introduce new weapons because more things to loot, more things to find. Like that's gonna, but it's like, I think releasing the game with lots of weapons and the crappiest zombies ever, like, it's just a bad idea, you know?
I'm hoping that we'll even see zombie changes before vehicles. I would consider that much more important.
Yeah,
I can deal without vehicles. If zombies are fun to fight, I'll walk to town killing zombies.
Right.
Yeah.
It'll make it smaller, or it'll make it feel bigger. Actually, is what I meant.
Mm-hmm.
There's 30 kilometers to the west and north that have been added, and the area north of the Northwest Airfield, we saw it on some of the maps at E3, where it was just empty mountains. I assume for like memory limitations, maybe back in 2009, they just couldn't extend the map anymore. There's like 4 gigantic cities, like Berezino sized, up north of the airfield now in the big mountains.
Cool.
That's right.
Yeah, there was this. What's the name of that one zombie game, Dave? I was talking about.
When you said it looked like crap.
The arcade one. Yeah, State of Decay. I was playing the demo. You should look it up when you get a chance. I think it's actually coming to PC soon, and I would recommend getting it. I think
now you have my interest.
It's a lot of fun. It looks like absolute poop, but the game is really quite polished in other areas, like just the battling and like getting in and out of a car, like getting in and out of cars, like just not glitching into one. Like I would love to see that in DayZ. It just always looks so retarded, but like it'd be awesome to have like like when you get attacked by zombies in that game, you literally get ripped limb to limb after a while. Like that would be epic in DayZ, like looking like the guy's like really like screaming, or if you had to crawl away or something like that. I want to see that. That's going to make it more intense, because right now it just looks like a bland graphical game where, you know, the sounds sound like poop. You know, the guns fire and they don't sound very like guns. You know, the animations look terrible and stuff. So it's like, I hope they get a team to do some really good polish on the game eventually, and not within the next 3 years.
So, Battlefield 4. We saw a multiplayer reveal at E3. I was pleasantly surprised. It seems like DICE looked at everything that people didn't like about Battlefield 3. That people wanted voice chat, they wanted commander mode, and what other complaints did people have? Those were like the 2 big ones, and they
absolutely, yeah.
They just gave them to you like they straight up. Here, we're adding these back in. But overall, I was pretty impressed. I don't know about you guys.
Spectator mode is a big one.
Spectator mode's a big thing. But just the gameplay itself, it looked like they're taking the like huge destruction, and I'm not calling it Levolution because that's a dumb name.
I've heard that word so much. I'm so tired of that word already.
But the destruction looks like it's been amped up. The physics look like they've been amped up. Particle effects, everything like that, and the scope of the levels looks like it's been amped up. Just bigger, prettier, nicer, and I'm interested. You know, I'm still not sure exactly. Like, I'm gonna wait till the beta before I make any hard decisions. But I'm thinking I'm probably going to get it. I don't know if I'll get premium this time around, but I'm feeling a lot better about it than I did before the show. But what are you guys' thoughts?
It looks cool, but I'm still not. I'm you know, it hasn't made itself stand out from Battlefield 3 yet. A couple extra features.
Right.
if I don't know what they're gonna do. I think for me, the only reason I'd buy it is because of all you guys are playing it.
Right. Well, you only ever got to like level 37 in Battlefield 3?
40 something, yeah.
40 something.
I mean, it's probably 150 hours, which for most games is pretty good, but
right. Well, it's the type of thing like if DayZ is really
150.
awesome, I might not care.
Maybe 70 hours.
If we're having like an incredible time in DayZ, I might not care that much about Battlefield. I might just wait till it drops to like $20 and pick it up or something.
Yeah, for me though, Battlefield is one of those games that I always have a Battlefield installed. Like ever since Battlefield 2, I've always had at least one Battlefield game installed. It's like a go-to multiplayer, just awesome fest.
But we have one already. Just throwing that out there.
That's a good point. Now, I have been following...
Dave is the ultimate Battlefield fanboy.
I have been following the news for Battlefield 4 pretty closely. I was skeptical going into E3. I was very disappointed to hear that it was going to be Modern Warfare again. I did not pre-order as soon as they announced it, like a lot of other people did. I kind of had a list of things that I wanted to see, and not only did DICE nail everything on the list, like you already said, the Commander mode, Spectator mode, and just a whole bunch of other things, but kind of went above and beyond. And from what I'm seeing, the reason that we're seeing Modern Warfare again in Battlefield 4 is because this is the game that DICE wanted to make 2 years ago.
Probably, yeah.
Every flaw, every problem I had with Battlefield 3 has been addressed in Battlefield 4 from what I've seen. Every single one.
It does look like
a much bugs have been fixed.
It does look like a much bigger
change to play the other day.
Call of Duty. Mm-hmm.
I got on to play the other day, and I had everything updated. Whatever. I played with you guys, but I could not join a match. It glitched every time.
Battlefield 3 is still a fundamentally flawed game in a lot of ways.
I tried for like 15 or 20 minutes, and then I was like, whatever. Which is the same... I mean, I've had that problem for a year now.
Right. I'm telling you, something I'm considering is Battlefield 4 does look good. I mean, the multiplayer looks better than I thought it was going to. I am impressed by it. But DICE did announce another multiplayer shooter.
Oh, yes.
And if they were both coming out at the same time, which they're obviously not, but if they were, I would go Battlefront every time.
Heck yes.
God, I know.
I love Battlefield, but I am right there with you.
So, I might be tempted. We'll see how quickly they showed such a tiny bit of
Battlefield with lasers, though.
I would buy it. If it was Battlefield in space with lasers, I would buy it.
If it had the blaster sounds.
Yeah.
You say it like it's a bad thing.
I think it should be influenced by Battlefield, but I want it to stand out a little bit on its own. I mean, it's got an entirely different universe to play.
I do hope they do the third-person view that you can change. That would be
Chris,
sweet.
did you ever play the other Battlefronts?
A little bit, yeah.
I mean, they had a lot of stuff that made them different. I mean, they weren't. I wouldn't compare them that much to Battlefield. They were definitely different. But they obviously.
I like Battlefront 2 better than Battlefield.
They came out with that pre-render video just to show everybody. I mean, they've only owned the IP for a couple months, so they came out with that video just to show everybody they were working on something. But it'll probably be next E3 before we see anything more from it. I mean, it's going to be a while.
There was an article I believe it did this morning. Actually, it was they mentioned saying. Just the excitement for them being able to make a Star Wars game, and they said that they're hoping to make the set pieces just ridiculously huge.
Yes. I'd be okay with that. And they're probably they'd hold it till next year anyway. Isn't the end of next year when Episode 7 comes out, or is it 2015?
Episode 7, 2015.
2015.
But there is a Star Wars Clone Wars type TV show coming out next year, early next year. So I'm guessing they're going to be starting to, get people back into Star Wars again.
Say, hey, you remember when we screwed up Star Wars 15 years ago? We're sorry, come back. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the Battlefield 4 beta. It does look very enjoyable. I'm just not sure, with premium, it was like, what, $120?
Yeah.
And that's just a lot of money. And I don't want to pay that much money for the same experience. So
my take on the cost is... two-part. First, the value. I mean, how many hours do you have in Battlefield 3?
A couple hundred.
That's a pretty good value for your money. And second of all, it was not $120 all at once. It was staggered, and you did save money compared to buying all the expansions all at once.
Not much money. Some money.
If you wanted it
like $10
at the day it came out, though. If you wanted it the day it came out, you saved money.
Right. Because a couple months later, you could get premium for $30. So, it might be the type of thing where I buy the base game and then I wait till premium gets really cheap and then add premium onto it or something. Because honestly, I don't think premium was worth it for me. Because I'm not really like I played Armored Kill for a week and a half, and what's the last one that came out?
Endgame.
Endgame.
I never even played Armored Kill once.
Is Endgame the one where there's like earthquakes
Joel.
and stuff?
I have videos of you playing Armored Kill.
I played on those maps. Have I?
Yeah.
I never gotten a tank, and like just the tank mode. You mean?
My point was going to be back to Karkin. Awesome, definitely worth it. Close Quarters I thought was awesome and definitely worth it. But I probably could have just bought them separately and been happy. Because the other maps, it got to the point where like there's so many maps I've played on them, but I wouldn't feel like I was missing anything if I played like the vanilla, half of the vanilla Battlefield maps and back to Karkin and Close Quarters would still be more really awesome maps than almost every other multiplayer shooter. So I would have been happy doing that. So I'm not convinced yet. Although I had so much fun playing Battlefield 2 that with commander mode and voice chat and stuff, I don't know. We'll see. It could happen.
It could feel like a totally different game, and that's what I'm hoping for. Is Battlefield 3 was a good game with like a boat anchor attached. It was not a good Battlefield game. It was just a good game.
It was a pretty good game. If it didn't have all of its stability and connection issues and stuff, even a year and a half after it came out, it would be a good game.
I got lucky when it came to that, so I'm thankful for that at least.
It's a good game with issues.
Exactly.
That can be a great game at times, but never quite reach the levels of amazing fantasticness.
As far as the game design goes, though, I felt like it missed the mark for being a great Battlefield game. Even just the lack of in-game voiceover IP ruined it.
Yeah.
Something that almost every game has.
And that's what makes a Battlefield game is teamwork. And the consoles had voice communication.
Well, that's just because they were
really
built
dropped
into
the
the
ball.
consoles themselves, though, right?
Yeah, I think they were able just to use those packages into the game, so it was very easy to set up. Still pretty sad, though.
If you guys didn't play the game, I wouldn't get it on my own. But since it's the only game you guys seem to play, and DayZ, and I want to play with friends. So
but we also have Arma 3 now that we all own.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that. I'm excited about that.
The
way
beta
more than I
comes
am
out in a
Battlefield.
matter of days.
Yep, and the more
does it?
and the more
Yes.
the beta does, yeah. And the more we play Arma, I'm enjoying that experience more than Battlefield. Battlefield's a really fun popcorn experience, and DayZ and Arma are definitely not. Let's hop in and have fun for a couple minutes. But maybe we just play Dino
But
D-Day
it's so
for a
awesome
while.
when you get into the midst of like a really well thought out mission.
It is.
Dino D-Day.
The assassination of Kazai, that was a really fun mission. Like I would have rather have played that than 5 matches of Battlefield, definitely. But I do also value those quick, more popcorn experiences the Battlefield offers. But we've got so many options to do that. We have so many games already. I don't know. We'll see. Again, we'll see.
Dave will sucker all of us into getting it.
I did
So
finally
the
convince
truly most
myself.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, I did finally convince myself and finally place my pre-order last week after watching all the E3 stuff and seeing the featured list. I finally was like, all right, they met the list, and that's what I was waiting for.
And you can cancel before the game comes out, so it's not like
exactly.
Yeah,
Dave won't though.
probably not.
It's Dave. It's a safe bet. He's gonna play it.
Before we move on to the closing part of this podcast, I don't think we actually talked about this. What was everyone's favorite moment or favorite game or favorite thing from E3? Because there were a lot of different moments and things and games at E3. So what was everyone's what surprised you or really impressed you?
I think
One
the
thing,
most
though.
surprising thing for me was Bungie being on the PlayStation stage. But the thing that I'm the most
Whoa.
excited about is The Witcher 3.
Oh, yes. All my money. Right
With an
now.
island the size of Skyrim, or no, an island the size of The Witcher 2, and significantly larger than Skyrim, in a much more grown-up and mature world.
Yep.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
It's like Game of Thrones mixed with Lord of the Rings.
Yep.
It's glorious.
All right, Dave.
I'm gonna discount all the PC stuff because I was expecting all that. For me, I really enjoyed seeing next-gen console games finally. I've really been waiting for consoles to get a boost. Seeing that Metal Gear trailer at the beginning, that was awesome. I really enjoyed that. I haven't played a Metal Gear game since, I don't even know what it was called. It was way back, probably GameCube, I think.
Oh, wow.
But
So
I really
Metal Gear
enjoyed them
Solid
back in the
2,
day.
I think.
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed that game, and to see it again and 2013 graphics on the new consoles, that was awesome.
Yeah.
To your point, like, that was, I think, one of the other things that surprised me about the conference. But just seeing how just this leap in hardware has affected the game so drastically.
Yeah.
Like, you just think about the vistas that you see in all of those games. They had scope that, even on PC, we haven't seen in great detail. But now that the majority of publishers will be able to operate there, I mean...
I did think the art direction was on a level we haven't seen before.
Yeah,
it was
it
pretty
has.
amazing.
And just the scope of the environments, like, you could tell they were 10 times bigger in visual range than anything we've seen.
Right.
Dave and I, we watched the 60 frames Metal Gear. There's a video on I showed. Oh, dude, it just looks sick. It's going to be an
beautiful.
awesome game. I'm excited about that.
I'm not going to take Chris's thing of The Witcher 3, although I was kind of on the edge of my seat for that one. I think I'm going to say Metal Gear Solid 5, not because like that video looked pretty awesome, but
Stealth Horse.
it didn't look like insane. It just looked really cool. But I mean, Metal Gear Solid 4 is on my top 5 like best games of all time list for me personally. I'm not necessarily saying the best games that have ever been made, but my favorite, my top 5, Metal Gear Solid 4 is on there because the story, I mean, it's better than most games I've played. So I'm confident, having played the other Metal Gear Solid games too, I'm confident this is probably going to be like that. So I'm probably not going to be blown away by gameplay or anything, but I'm probably really going to love it. And I thought it was exciting to see that it's coming and see how good it looks and everything. I mean, that was just really enjoyable for me. It was a bit odd to see it on the Xbox. I'm assuming Microsoft paid a lot of money to have that open up their conference. But because that was one of PlayStation's like big franchises for years. But
yeah,
so
I believe it's going to be on both. I do believe it's.
Oh, no, it is going to be on both. It's going to be on the PS3 too, I think.
Yeah, I don't know if they've announced yet. I haven't read anything.
So
that would be amazing if it wasn't.
So Joel, what was your big thing?
The Division.
The Division. It looked cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked really cool. I mean, we'll see if it actually ends up being that cool.
Yeah, if it ends up doing what they were talking about, oh man, I'm gonna just be lost in that. I think that looks like what I want DayZ to be. I want the ruined city going through an actual like city, you know? Because I'm not a huge fan of like where DayZ is located. Like I'd rather just be in a American type of town. Like I just love because I'm more used to that, you know?
Right.
So
Bring the destruction here.
Yeah, yeah. I just wish they had bigger towns like.
Why does Europe get all the
stuff,
apocalypse?
So. I know.
I was actually even more. I got even more excited about The Division after seeing the lead developer on it. It's actually Massive Ubisoft, formerly Massive Entertainment, the studio behind Ground Control, World in Conflict, and Far Cry 3 most recently.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow!
Just to see
was their last one was Far Cry 3?
They were
Far Cry.
They were a sub studio.
Oh, okay.
They were one of I think 3 or 4 studios that worked on it, but they were a major part of the project. And like every game they touch is just gold, and like it's so polished and so just AAA quality. It's awesome.
Yeah, seeing that scene when they walked through the locker room and how much trash and stuff was on the ground, like it was. They spent a lot of time on this, and even just the way you pick up items that blew me away. Like they actually grab and pick up an item, like. I mean, DayZ or even The Last of Us, like you pick up items, you kind of swipe their hand kind of near it, and it just kind of collects into your inventory.
Right.
But that like literally grabs onto an object and puts it in somewhere. Like, holy crap!
The little touches make a big difference.
Yeah, the little things. That's
when
for
they were
me,
in that firefight and all those bullet holes were popping up in the car windows and stuff.
Man.
Like that looked good. Like that looked really good.
Imagine that in DayZ, like standing behind a car and all the windows are just like, you know, and the tires, and that adds a lot of stuff to me.
It does.
You know, so.
It does. Immersion.
Like DayZ, where you're like, is there still glass there? I can't tell.
The freaking
I hear the
glass
sound effect.
in the control tower. That glass is possessed.
So, Steve, how about you?
You know, I know it's not a new game, but seeing the stuff during the Sony press conference on The Last of Us made me want to get a console, even though I've never been a console gamer, just so I could play that. But beyond that, I mean, the other games I'm really looking forward to are like The Witcher 3 and Battlefield 4. I thought looked really great.
Have you played the other Witcher games now that you have a PC?
No, not yet. Chris has just told me about them.
Well,
I watched trailers of them, and
when the summer
so
sale,
really
when the Steam summer sale comes out, you can probably pick both of them up for, I'm guessing, like $10 together.
Actually,
yeah, sure.
GOG.com has Witcher 2 right now for $6, and you get so many bonus things, and it's DRM free. Like, you download an EXE. Well, it's like 6 EXEs, but there's no DRM.
You can just get it in Steam if you want. So
I bought the GOG version, and I prefer the GOG version. Actually,
why?
The lack of DRM.
Yeah, but
and the huge
because
the huge
you don't
amount of
like
bonuses.
Steam.
yeah.
Oh, Steam's a horrible thing. So next time your computer crashes, you don't have your exe file.
I actually had someone
You go
accuse
back
me
to
of
Steam.
torrenting the game because I bought the GOG version. I just added it to my Steam library and I just launched it from Steam. But I can do whatever I want with it. But I recorded some footage from it. And someone's like, "Oh, you're launching the non-Steam game Witcher 2? Like, you hacker, you downloaded that." Like, well, yeah, from
I have
GOG.com.
it from Amazon, and they just give you an exe too. So
Yeah.
What were you gonna say, Chris?
the other thing I was going to say, which is awesome Arma news, is that pushing out with the beta, they're integrating it with Steam and Steam Workshop.
Yes.
So any missions you
Yes.
build will be downloadable into the game. They said without having to close the game, you'll be able to just add missions in from Steam, other user content. That's awesome.
I'm excited for Arma 3 helicopter missions where we all have to fly helicopters. It's burning!
We set Joel
hurts
up, like
so
there's the mission, there's like 5 helicopters, and the 6th one is like a click away for Joel.
All right. So I've got, before we close the podcast out tonight, I have something that I'm very upset about, and I want to just rant about it for a couple minutes if you guys will indulge me, because I don't think all of you know this yet.
This is a
I
good
have
story,
20 minutes
trust
of
me.
battery left. Go ahead.
Battery on what?
I'm on my MacBook upstairs. I didn't grab my power cable.
Oh, okay. So I'm rolling in that YouTube money now. Don't know if you knew. For the 2 years I've been doing this now, I have now made about $80. So,
Whoa. Slow down there, son.
So anyway, I was like, hey, all right, is there something I could spend this money on that would actually help me? And the thing I decided I should spend money on is a recording hard drive, because the hard drive I've been using is 320 gigabytes, which is tiny. It is not big enough for footage, and I'm constantly having to delete footage that I'm not going to use. And Dave's been a part of that. We want to record more DayZ, and I'm like, what else can I get rid of? Nothing much happened this night.
We're like hiding under a pine tree while he sorts through his video files.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to go with a 2 terabyte. So I was looking at the Seagate Barracuda, 2 terabyte drives, because they post read and write speeds of like 140 to 160 megabytes a second. And it's a 2 terabyte drive, and it retails for $100. So it looked really good. I've always enjoyed Western Digital Caviar Greens, but I wanted to be able to record 1080 at higher frame rates if I want to, stuff like that. So I ordered this drive, and of course I order it from Amazon. I've always ordered computer parts from Newegg. Newegg's like, they my people. But Amazon has Amazon Prime, and when you want something really badly and can pay $4 to have it there the next day, Amazon Prime's the way to go. So, and I've been very happy with Amazon. So I order it, and the next day, a very small box shows up, and I pick it up, and I tilt it just a little bit, and I hear a thunk, and I'm like, ooh, that doesn't sound good. So I open it up, and the drive is in an anti-static bag, sitting in the bottom of the box, and there are three little airbags sitting on top of it, with like 2 inches of free space between them and the top of the box. So this thing has just been sliding around throughout the whole shipping process. And since it was overnighted, I bet it wasn't like being gently loved. I bet people are like chucking it between airplanes. So I should have just put it back in the box and returned it. Amazon doesn't care how you return stuff. They're the Walmart of online. They really don't care. So, but I didn't. I wanted it. So I broke my computer down, and my computer, it's hard to install hard drives. It's an Antec 900. And I'm going to ditch this case sooner or later because it's a 20-minute process to put in a new hard drive. So I put in the new hard drive. I boot it up. I format the disk. Everything appears to be fine. I run a couple benchmarks. Everything looks good. So I start dumping all of my recording footage that I have from the other drive onto it. So I've got like 200 gigs of footage I'm copying over. So I start the copy. I go to eat dinner. I get back from dinner. My computer's being weird. Everything's being kind of slow. and then stuff starts crashing. Windows Explorer crashed, Steam crashed, Terracopy, which is the program I use to move files, it crashed.
This is just a regular day using a PC.
Shut up,
Oh,
Joel.
whoa. No, Joel, only your computers,
So
which you treat
So
like toasters. It's
everything's
just an
crashing.
appliance.
So I'm like, what's the first rule when something's going wrong? You restart
Get
it.
to the Apple Store.
No, you restart it. So I restart the computer and it boots back up, except it gets to a screen and says, no Windows installation found, cannot boot. And I'm going, oh no. So I reboot again, same thing. I boot into my BIOS, and it doesn't see a Windows installation on my SSD. So I unplug the hard drive, and then I unplug the new recording drive, and I boot back up, and it's able to see the Windows installation, but then it tells me my master boot record is corrupted. So
Oh my gosh, I hate this nightmare. It's making me feel sick because that happened to me too.
it followed a couple hours of running check disk. I was able to figure out a way that I could jimmy my way into Windows temporarily, but every time I restarted, it would fail again. So I was able to get into Windows a couple times with no other hard drives connected except my SSD, and 4 hours later, I'm able to get everything working. So once everything's back up and working, not the new recording drive, that's broken, as I should have expected. I contact Amazon, and they said, would you like to leave packaging feedback? And I was like, oh, yes, I would. So I leave packaging feedback that basically amounted to, are y'all retarded? This is not how you ship a hard drive. And I would like to return this and get another one. They were like, sure, that's great. Pop it in a box. They print out a prepaid UPS shipping label. They cross-ship the drive to me. I've got a month to get the other one back. Like, good guy, Amazon. So then, 2 days later, the new drive shows up in a smaller box with the same amount of padding and the drive sliding around inside it. So I didn't even open it. That thing stayed in the bag. I immediately filled out a return form for it, and I went on Newegg and ordered the exact same drive from Newegg, and it arrived today in a box this big, wrapped in bubble wrap, and everything works great, and I'm enjoying it. But come on, Amazon sells thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of hard drives every year. How do they not know how to package a hard drive? Like, it's one thing to happen once, because occasionally Amazon screws up. I ordered once 15 spools of writable CDs at work, and they didn't put any padding in the box. So it showed up with several hundred CDs broken out of their cases and rolling around. Like, every once in a while, the wrong packer gets on the assembly line.
That's like a shipping hazard. Imagine if that box like exploded in flight or something.
Oh, it was heavy.
Shards
It was
of
bad.
CD.
But this was
In the air.
twice. They shipped a hard drive twice, and the second time was worse than the first. So it's not just like the wrong packer on the assembly line. This must be how they ship drives. But that's like, it's ridiculous. That's inexcusable. So I am not buying any more hard drives from Amazon. I am back to Newegg for all that, and I'll just wait a couple extra days because I'm so upset about it. I just needed to tell somebody.
Go drink your chocolate milk, Jeremiah.
How in the world did that affect your boot drive? That's the thing I don't get.
The hard drive
Because
had bad sectors
Windows.
on it, and I was in the middle of a write, which was going through the C drive. When you're writing stuff, like your Windows has
Okay.
to be involved in that. That's all I can figure. And when the boot drive started corrupting, like the sectors were just getting screwed up and stuff was getting stuck in limbo. And I don't know how the MBR itself actually got messed up, but yeah, I learned my lesson. If I'm
Exact same thing happened to me. My hard drive, I did something freaked out when I was copying, so I was like, oh, I'll just force quit that thing down. Nothing else happened. I rebooted my computer the next day. Everything was gone. Windows was gone. Everything. I couldn't figure out a dang thing. It was all corrupted. Come on.
Now, the difference between this and a Mac, Joel, is if a Mac does that, you'll just get the white screen with the little spinny thing, and you'll never have any opportunity to recover anything. Windows was able to recover itself after a couple
At least
hours
you have a
of
place you
sweating
can
through
actually
it.
take your laptop to. You guys don't have
At least you didn't have to buy a brand new laptop.
But for average users, they would be lost.
I don't
They
care
would
about
be in
average
Oh,
users.
hell.
shut up. You're still using FAT32.
I'm still using FAT32.
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't even know about Fat32, son. You don't even know.
That may be the nerdiest insult I've ever heard in my entire life.
Enjoy your 4 gig files. Nerd.
Wow, that's the end of the podcast right there, guys.
Just Google
Fat32
XFAT, Joel.
insults.
Do me a favor and Google XFAT. Okay, all right. So right before we leave, we've got a question from Magaz in the feed. got a tech question from you guys. I'm upgrading from a Radeon 6670. Do I go for a Radeon 7870 or GTX 670? You go for a 670, definitely. Everything else being equal, a 7950 and a GTX 670 are pretty equal, and a 7950 is a lot better than a 7870. I mean, a lot better. It's like 25% better. So the only reason I would go with a Radeon 7870 is if you want all the games they package them with, because they give you like a lot of games with AMD cards now. So, if you want all those free games, then yeah, go with a Radeon. I mean, the 7870 is a great card. I'm sure you'll enjoy it, but if you don't care about the games or you already have them and you're looking for just sheer performance, I would definitely go with the GTX 670. Does anyone else have anything they want to add to that?
I know like nothing about modern Radeon cards, so
they're awesome. They're awesome, but the 670 is better than the 7870. They're not in the same class of card. So, and actually the 670 is probably going to drop in price pretty soon because of the 700 series that just came out. So the 670s might bump down to 7870 prices, and that would make a lot of sense, but... Anyway, unless anyone has any parting shots, I think that's the podcast for tonight. Does anyone have anything they want to add before we go?
Joel, get any more PC hate for us on the podcast about PC gaming?
You guys should seriously debate getting a PS4 so you guys can play some other games besides Battlefield.
I'm debating it. I wasn't considering it before the press conference, but I'm strongly considering it now.
There's lots of fun on both sides.
I'll just fill everyone else in. Not that really anyone else is going to care, but I'm not buying any more games till I play through everything in my Steam library. That doesn't mean I'll beat everything necessarily, because some games are old or broken, or there might be various reasons. So I'm not going to make a blanket like I will beat everything. And also some games I got in bundles and they're probably terrible and I'm going to hate them. But I'm going to at least give a good run through every game in my Steam library, because I own so many games that I've already paid for the experience. I've just never enjoyed it. So I'm not going to buy...
You got 5 months, man.
The only things I'm going to buy are the DayZ standalone and maybe Battlefield. Like any multiplayer game, we're going to play together as a group. But other than that, I'm going to play through everything in my Steam library before I buy anything else. And that would include a PS4. And Joel did bring up a good point that I totally forgot about that when I ordered The Last of Us yesterday, but
now you got to return it. You get no. Send it to me. I'll take care of it for you.
My excuse for that,
or this way.
I was gonna say we could use it.
I'm trying to come up with a PS3 so we can play it.
Yeah.
My wife and I are gonna play through it together. So
that's my play too. Actually,
that's my multiplayer excuse.
Yeah. So your wife bought the game, not you. It's okay.
But yeah, Chris and Steve, if you guys want to pay for shipping, I'll mail you the PS3 once I'm done with it.
I think
we were wanting to play through it together, so
Jeremiah,
I think it's a duty as an American to buy that game.
Jeremiah, you just told us a horrible story about how a hard drive was brutalized in shipping, and you're like, no, I'll ship my PS3 across the country.
I'm good at shipping stuff, and this PS3, it's an old PS3 fat. If it hasn't died at this point, it ain't going to die. It's beat the odds.
You attach it to your trailer just by a rope. It's like dragging outside the back of your car.
I'm good at shipping stuff.
Let's go for a walk.
I shipped a $20,000 video console that I had to make the box for myself out of scraps, and it arrived intact. I just want to throw that out there.
Just tossing it out for whenever you do get to play, all you crazy graphicophiles, whatever you call it. Graphics look awesome. I mean, you guys are gonna probably rip it to pieces, but the gameplay is insane. It is 720p. It's full 720p at least. So.
Yeah, I don't know.
It does look amazing.
Yeah, Uncharted was amazing.
I saw it at Joel's house a few days ago, and I do like the style of it. The art style is really cool. It reminds me of mixture of like I Am Legend and Walking Dead, but the first thing I noticed was there are no shadows in the entire game. Like
that's in multiplayer. In single player, it's a lot better. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Multiplayer always seems to be less for.
That's a good point. I only saw the multiplayer, but yeah, there were no shadows, and I was like, "This style looks great, but boy, does it look flat."
Because I think it would have to have shadows over all the multiplayer characters, and I bet that's probably hard to do.
Yeah, it's probably the characters. I'd bet.
Yeah, in the main game though, it's pretty incredible, but you'll still notice all the crazy anti-aliasing.
I know I'm gonna love it, and no matter what, it looks so good.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for watching. That's the podcast for tonight, and be sure to tune in next time. We'll probably be talking about the Arma 3 beta, which will be out for a week or so by then. But yeah, thank you for watching, everybody, and You be sure to have yourself a good evening.
Yeah, and if DayZ Standalone comes out, you're not going to see us for a while. Bye, guys. It's the last podcast for a while.
We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
See you guys.
Bye.
Yeah.